Is narcissism and the narcissistic personality disorder a disease of the spirit or a disease of the mind? That's what I'd like to get into today, guys. It's kind of an on-trend topic. The topic has been brought to my attention by one of our community. So it's come up a few times. I'm going to address it today and just give you my opinion on it. Please feedback yours and let's see where we get to in understanding in a more comprehensive way what narcissism is and look at the behaviours of a malignant narcissist and get them straight in our heads as to why they do what they do and how we're going to look at it and classify it and how we're going to move forward with our lives with a firm personal belief of what we're dealing with. Before I get into the podcast, I really want to say thank you to so many of you that left comments on the fact that the microphone wasn't recording properly last time. I really feel like I'm speaking to friends. That's the only way I can describe it. And I've had the pleasure of speaking to a good few of you in coaching and getting to know people. And, it's an experience that would blow you away. There are so many good people out there. So I know a lot of us get very disillusioned after relationships with narcissists, and a lot of us seem to attract them. But please believe me, there's a huge community of beautiful human beings out there. Do not despair for the world and humanity. Just do your bit to keep it going. That's the way I look on it anyway. So this is kind of a little bit like a lecture because I was asked to answer a question for an upcoming written interview. And as always, being me, I did it and wrote too many words. So I said, look, we're looking at this topic. And another person came and said it was pretty trending at the moment in our community. So I decided I'm going to read it out to you and I'll stop every now and again just to add a bit here and there. Is narcissism a spiritual disease? Or is it just a psychological disorder, a mental health disorder? What drives it? Where does it come from? How does it begin? Are people born narcissists? Or are narcissists created from what happens to them in their environment? There are narcissists online that would argue that this is a mental health problem, a mental health disorder, and it's nothing to do with any woo-woo stuff like spiritual stuff. And being narcissists, it sure would suit them to have that as the total explanation for the creation of narcissism, malignant narcissism. But anyway, I'll get into what I've read here because it goes on more of a natural trajectory. So let's get started. Okay, so I was asked the question about spirituality, and this was the answer. After experiencing multiple narcissists firsthand, educating myself fully on the psychological aspects of the personality disorder, which is termed NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, or such as it is defined today, and listening to many clients in coaching describe their heinous experience with narcissists, I fall strongly onto the belief in the spiritual origins of malignant narcissism. So any of you that would have seen any of the previous podcasts would be pretty aware that I will give great credence to the spiritual nature of the behaviours of narcissists. While modern day psychology is a wonderful classification tool for how the machine of narcissism operates and its predictable behaviour patterns, I believe it does not adequately explain the energy / fuel that drives the machine itself. There is currently a nature versus nurture argument ongoing as to why some people process childhood trauma in very similar circumstances For instance, as similar as twins within the same family structure. And one goes on to become a full-blown narcissist, or normal, or highly empathic, and the other doesn't become a narcissist. Psychology postulates that childhood trauma causes narcissism. Well, that argument is invalid as a statement, as not everyone who experiences childhood trauma becomes a narcissist. So it's outproven itself in reality. Then there are those that say narcissists are born with narcissistic genetic programming, despite a wonderful upbringing and no childhood trauma. I'm sure anyone that's looked into this in any great depth, and we do tend to want to know everything when we've been through one of these extraordinary experiences or relationships, has pondered that question. I personally believe we do inherit personality traits or possibilities. Like, for instance, a person may inherit a great singing voice, but never practice singing, or be dissuaded from performing, and so never fully actualize this aspect of their persona. However, it can come to the fore should they be asked to sing at a wedding or a similar event. So, when requested, when the position is the circumstances right, that particular trait can come out. My point being, an innocent baby is born with individual genres of genetics. Up to a point, some of the possibilities or singular traits may seldom be triggered by their upbringing or environment. Or conversely, some less favourable traits may come to the fore in relation to a chaotic or traumatic early life experience. The energy around that individual is becoming formed and metastasized into a premium fuel choice that drives the personality best. Hope that makes sense. There is a point where cognitive development becomes such that choices surround the individual, and even if there is a positive, balanced guidance in terms of what is morally a good choice and morally a bad choice, the individual consciously decides to either stay in their energy field that has developed around them, their coping mechanisms, or break away to a cleaner environment. When the person, the baby, the child is presented with a choice of changing the energy around them, the drivers around them, the motivations around them, the part of their personality that has come to the fore, they consciously choose at that stage which way to go. What you feed grows, as the old Indian proverb says. We have two wolves inside each of us, the good wolf and the bad wolf. If you keep choosing the bad wolf, it becomes too strong and kills the good wolf, until the person becomes a reflection of that which they practice. I firmly believe that the more the young person gives in to hurting people, controlling people, manipulating people, the more they become that which they're practicing. Even when they're presented with a choice and they're told that's wrong, even when someone intervenes, they go one way or the other. Why? I look at evil as a life force to use old terminology, let's give it a leader, Satan, for want of a better analogy. If you or I were Satan, and you wished your children or recruits on Earth in 2024 to thrive and survive, how would you package evil or PR it? I always like to get to the root of, to get to what causes, the very root of the question. And that means taking it back to the what ifs. What if you didn't eat that? Would you then not get the disease? So we look to the very core of, if you were creating evil and you wanted evil to survive, how would you go about packaging that so that it would be as protected as possible and as successful as possible? I believe I would call the evil and destructive behaviours perpetuated by narcissists as the result of childhood trauma. If I was Satan and wanted to present, to explain, oh, that's why they did all that stuff, the destructive stuff, the stuff that made you lose everything, lose your mind and nearly lose your life. It's because they had a childhood trauma. Or a mental health disorder, unfortunately, a mental health disorder. Tough, too bad, it's a mental health disorder. To cleanse the dark acts of narcissists in modern terms and incite compassion in the populace. Overlook it. There's a reason. There's a reason they destroyed your life. Overlook it. There's a reason. That's the way, if I was Satan, the father of evil, that's the way I would package it. It's clever. You can't deny that. As Satan, I hope no one minds this analogy now, it's a pretty dark analogy, but I'm just, again, going to the core. As Satan, I would get online narcissistic educators to poo-poo the spiritual darkness suggestions. Discredit the people raising awareness of the truth of the vile behaviours, and intellectualize the interesting, sexy personality disorder in a superior manner. At the same time, the knockers or naysayers of calling a spade and pampering over evil smile and appear like your very best friend and attempt to mislead, as all narcissists do, in terms of suggesting supporters of the truth are delusional, silly, crazy, just uneducated, self-styled con artists. Projection at its worst. I'm glad I wrote this because I'm getting very passionate about it. I probably would have lost track. So to conclude, I delve into the spiritual aspect of narcissism because I believe if a person is born with a natural bent to a defensive stroke offensive genetic approach, and that is fertilized and nurtured up to the point of ability to choose consciously, and they choose dark energy, then their spiritual energy is compromised, becomes diseased. Nowadays, personally, I can actually feel physically when I'm in the presence of a narcissist, unbelievable as that may seem. I don't know, guys, if you've found this, but after going through this experience, you nearly can smell a narcissist, if that's if that's possible to say, you feel, and I've said this before and people have gone, what does she mean? You feel a zizziness in near the person. You feel opposed to the person. You feel, oh no, oh, get me away from here. Even if it's the smallest thing, you feel the energy field is different. The atmosphere in a room is different. It is crazy, but it is really something we should pay attention to. When we tune into our spiritual energy of the being or life force that we are, the knowing, we enter possibly a quantum sphere of existence. This is just my theory. We exist outside of our body and brain. We are an energetic being that chooses right over wrong, love over hate. Somewhere along that line, this is the energy we originated from, or fed, or surrounded ourselves with. Like a small light becoming a bigger light of the same material. We gathered the same material and made a conscious choice to do our best to live in this realm outside of our body and brain. I believe that's our spiritual energy, our soul, that is unquantifiable. But we sure get more in touch with it after dealing with a narcissist. And I will always say, this channel is about helping people recover that have been wronged by the behaviours of narcissists. Set up another channel to help narcissists if that's what people want to do. This channel concentrates on people that have been affected by malignant narcissism. I digress. Okay, we choose right over wrong, love over hate. I believe we have untapped energy potential that perhaps more knowledge of which will be known in years to come. I think we've been given an in here in our experience with narcissists to delve deeper into the meaning of our being, of their being, and life itself, and that which exists that we can't quantify, that isn't taste, smell, it's not one of those senses. It's something other that we seem surrounded by and that gives us intuition and perception. It is going to be more discovered in years to come. Telepathy, psychic stuff, all of this is, I believe, coming more to the fore in our future. We need to start that journey by straightening out Satan's machinations and attempts to distort the simplicity of right and wrong. There is too much ongoing cruelty and destruction of good people who are blaming themselves for the pain a narcissist caused them by such distortions. We need to believe in good and humanity and recognize evil when it shows its face for what it is. It is what it is and must be protected against. We need clarity in our world today and the freedom to call out acts of destruction clearly and be heard. No intellectualizing it away. No cleansing it with modern terminology. It is what it is, and we need to have a firm grip on that reality. it's dangerous to believe otherwise. Humanity is at war with itself, and the light must now be turned on and rise within each of us. And that, my friends, is the conclusion of my take on the fact that I really believe the drivers behind the narcissist are the energy it chooses to use to survive and thrive in life. It's a negative energy. It, in general, ends badly for the narcissist because the narcissist needs to be in control all the time of every moment in their life and superior and in control. And I've mentioned this in a few of the short videos I've done recently. It can't end well because one can't control people 100%. And if you try and control people in situations 100%, you lose your objective, what you were trying to set out to do, because you get stuck in the minutiae of that. You have collateral negative consequences. So narcissism works against a narcissist as well as the individuals that they perpetuate evil on. And knowing that they've caused pain and that what they've done is wrong, and knowing this, they then blame the individual, the other individual, for having made them do it. You know, if you were to look to create something as perfect as that type of evil, that's the only thing I can call it. If you were to look to create that, you know, it's quite a master plan. It is quite a master plan. It is a rabbit hole of evil. That's the only way I can describe it. It is a word salad of evil because it doesn't end. It goes around in circles. And the reality is they attempt to obliterate the reality of what it is, the evil machinations and the machine of what it is. Want us confused, want us feeling it was a childhood trauma, it's a mental illness, and don't go into the spiritual realm. And you will notice online narcissists do not want to talk about the spiritual realm, or if they do, they want to go, oh, you poor old-fashioned, uneducated, you know, unrealistic people. Talking about this kind of silliness is just, be careful of people who tell you those kind of things. It's all very unmodern and very unintellectual and very wrong. And actually, I believe it's very right. So don't be misled by any narcissist, anywhere, anytime, any place. What is right and what is wrong. And in general, reality is that which is perceived by the majority of people. I'll leave you with that, guys. Please take great care of yourselves, and we will see you again very soon for another podcast. Bye for now.